Chapter 2, Two Boats. So excited to share this one. When me and my wife Tiffany started our construction company, All Things New, the first 3 years, they were challenging. You see, my wife still worked 3 jobs full-time to help us meet the needs at home. First year, we brought in $35,000 revenue. Are you kidding me? Trying to survive with 4 kids, married, paying rent, taking care of the materials to get through. The projects just weren't enough to meet the needs we needed to survive. Year 2, we did double it. We hit $70K revenue, but you can imagine that didn't change the profit margins too much. And year 3, we doubled revenue again. We hit about $140K. But same as before, what I actually was getting at the end of the day was not meeting the needs. Wife was still working full time. We were trying to do everything we can to survive and just at least put food on the table for our kids. It was getting rough, guys. The stress was piling up, the questions and wondering like, why am I even doing this? And those doubts come in sometimes when we think back of the foundation we started with prayer, confirmation, to step out of the boat of faith where we start sinking like Peter did when Jesus told him to come and walk on water with him. And so we were going through that, but can you imagine 3 years of feeling like we made the greatest mistake there was? We're not educated as business owners. We don't know what we're doing. We went out with minimal gear. We do not have the cash flow or even the license to grow or scale our company into the level of revenue we would need to even survive this. We were really doubting things. I was personally doubting things, leading charge. I was a hustler. I was a hard worker. I wore every hat possible. I was the one taking the phone calls. I was driving out to the homes and surveying everything, talking to the homeowners, putting on this sales face. Everything's going to work out. We could serve you to the best of our ability with integrity, hard work, and a godly, just everything we could do to put ourselves in a position to serve God, but also serve these homeowners. And it was just getting weighty. I would come back home late at night, working on estimates, trying to put things together, wordsmith and email. We didn't have ChatGPT back then. And sometimes just wording those to present it with a partnership tone would just take hours, and presenting a big proposal, making sure that the experience level was there to build trust and establish ourselves. I would send these estimates out, go to bed, wake up at 4 o'clock. We live on an island where traffic is one of the worst in the nation. It takes about an hour and a half just to get to the job site or wherever we need to go. And it's really only a 15 to 30 mile radius sometimes, or miles to get there. And we just stuck in traffic. We have to stop by a service material place like Home Depot or Lowe's, pick up some materials for the day, have the guys meet you, and then drive to the job site. By the time you're there, you got to unload everything, unpack everything, check everything that's happening, quality control, get the guys laid out, maybe install a little bit to help efficiency and not lose money on the job. So I would get in, swing hammer, have all my tools there. I would do takeoffs, figure out what material I need, go sit in my car, try to get everything prepared for the next day to be efficient, take another phone call, and try to keep up with this stuff administratively. It was getting crazy. It was challenging. I was in hustle mode. I was still young, but can you imagine day after day after day in this burnout? And then there's a point where you're really looking on that 3rd year that, calls started not really coming in, meeting to the level of demand we needed to even survive. And there's a story in the Bible that, I've read and experienced that I felt an empathy for what they were going through as I was going through the same thing. I felt alone. I felt isolated. I felt like I didn't have anybody to talk to. When I did come home, my wife was working full time and I would have to jump in to help with whatever I can around the house. I was struggling with the spirits of entitlement that I'm working all day, and there were some challenges there in marriage. It was just all piling up to this almost grand explosion of just failure, not being able to meet the demand of what I felt my stewardship and responsibility was to make this thing work. Again, trying to take it all on and not really, I understand the position and posture as God, the builder of all things, being the owner, and I'm stewarding, but things just aren't panning out or playing how I envision or imagine them panning out, and just feeling this reality of a boat about to crash on its course. And so I'm going to read a scripture here, a story it's in Luke chapter 5, of Peter and his first experience meeting Jesus. So here we go. Verse 1, one day as Jesus was standing by the lake, the people were crowded around him listening to the word of God. He saw at the water's edge 2 boats, left there by the fishermen who were washing their nets. He got into one of the boats, the one belonging to Simon, who's Peter, and asked him to put out a little from shore. That's the boat. Then he sat down and taught the people from the boat. Just the beginning of the story. Let's just imagine this in a movie setting. Just you have this teacher sitting on the shore, and he's got a group of people, and he's just pouring out wisdom and teaching them. Here you are, you or me, being like Peter, Simon, the fisherman out to sea, working all day and all night trying to catch some fish. Can you understand the backstory is probably similar to what I was going through? And this is where the empathy kicked in, is where I felt what Peter was probably feeling in that moment. When they brought the boats, said 2 boats now. That means it was Peter and a crew and a second crew. You had 2 crews out there all day, working their butts off, setting out the nets, trying to go all the strategic places they can, and they just are not catching anything. So when they come back, they have to wash their nets. Washing the nets is where I really felt a connection, because in construction or in any type of a way in life, there's a moment where we feel like that's the end of the day or that's the end of the moment, and there's almost this, not that we give up, but you have to give up that day. And that's what happened with Peter and his crew and the 2 boats. Is washing their nets was not only symbolic, but it was really happening. They're truly at the end of fishing, and everything that all the rubbish and waste that gets caught in there with no fish, you have to clean the nets, roll them back up, tie them, put them together so they can go back on the boat safely, secure, and you can pull them out next time. It's the same with like construction tools. We pull all these things out, we just hammer and go at it all day, and at the end of the day, we got to take the tools, clean out the dust, take off the batteries, put them on recharge, put everything back into the toolboxes, organize as best as possible, clean the site, put all the tools back in the truck somewhere where people won't steal them, and make sure they're secure and get ready and prepare for the next day. And from a business standpoint, as an owner, that's how I was feeling. I was feeling like, man, I need to just start washing the nets in my business. I started feeling the weight of, man, was I really supposed to do this? And might be a point in your life or in a situation, job, career, business, even in parenting, where you feel like washing the nets, where you feel like giving up, where you feel like bringing the boats to shore, where you feel like that you're going to start putting it all away and calling it quits. And you feel sometimes that insecurity kicks in. I felt like a failure. Did I serve God how I was supposed to? Why would he pull me out in there not just to catch any fish? And that's what was happening as a residential builder. All of a sudden, I wasn't getting the calls. And one day, 1 week, not getting calls is the end of the world, because then I would have to potentially let go of my crew. If I don't have my crew, I can't get the next job. And if I can't pay them, everything just comes to this halt, and it's hard to reboot. It's kind of like a plane. It takes 80% of its fuel to get in the air and 20% to glide. We've heard that many times. But the idea of it having to land and relaunch with no fuel, it's not possible. And that's how I felt. I felt like I put all my energy, 80% of my energy, to get this plane in the air, but it doesn't have enough fuel to finish the flight. And that's where I was. So this plane has to now land so we don't crash and die. But when it lands, it's impossible to get it back up, because just to get it to where it was took everything we had. And that's how Peter and his crew, we'll call him Simon as well, as the scriptures say, was feeling in that moment. They were feeling that was the plan land. There was no fish to be caught. And here they were bringing this in, washing their nets, calling it a day. And they witness and see this man teaching on the shore. Here we go in the scriptures. They saw on the water's edge 2 boats left there by the fishermen who were washing their nets. He got into one of the boats, the one belonging to Simon, and asked him to put out a little from shore. Then he sat down and taught from the people from the boat. So when Simon Peter brought in the boat, one of the boats, which was Simon's, this teacher, his name is Jesus, builder of all things himself, comes up to Simon Peter and says, hey, take your boat out a little bit more. I'm going to come on there and I'm going to teach from there. That seems fair. I mean, you're teaching. Maybe I heard a little bit of what you're teaching. Sounds like, you're not a criminal. Yeah, I can do that for you. Simon allows him to get on the boat. Jesus, he takes him out. Jesus starts teaching from the boat. What's significant here and what this spoke to me specifically that I want to share with you is that sometimes, and a lot of times, when we're at our weakest, when we feel like washing the nets, when we feel like we're failing, when we feel like giving up, when we feel like we've given it all, and we feel like a cup that's just completely empty and there's nothing else to do but wash the nets, these are the moments that Jesus, the builder of all things, shows up and says, let's go out one more time. I'm going to go with you, and I'm now going to use your boat as my platform to speak. And this really just opens up a whole nother level of encouragement to me, and I hope it encourages you. When you feel like you're at some of those weakest moments, the moments of washing your nets, clocking out is what they say. I'm going to clock out for the day. I'm done. And when you get to those moments, know that's when Jesus is there and shows up. Not that he went anywhere, but that's the moment where he reveals himself to you as he did Simon and Peter and says, I'm here. How about we go out one more time, and I'm going to be on the boat and go with you. Since you've emptied your boat, you've took off everything, you have no fish, you've took off all the nets, all the crew, everything, you're done for the day, you've washed nets. Now that you're fully emptied and surrendered, let me come into your boat and let's go out. And now I'm going to utilize what you think this boat can't do. I'm going to use it for what I can do. And that's how God shows up in our lives.